All right. Good morning, everybody. All right. We are live on both platforms. So, good morning, guys. Donnie Rouse here. And this one is a very, very special episode. We're going to talk about your past and how meanings that you have given your past, events of your past, are now shaping your life, and how by just changing the way you look at those, let me turn off notifications here, how just changing the way you look at those could actually literally change your life. So it's all about going after the life you want. And a lot of the time, it's the things that are not a lot of the time, majority of the time, if not all, it's the things you don't see that are holding you back. So, hi guys, my name is Donnie Rouse, and you are listening to the podcast One Life. Free yourself. Those who don't learn from the past are destined to repeat it. This is true in the mistakes you make in your regular day, as well as the traumas that you've had in your past. Trauma is a funny word because whenever you think of the word trauma, you think of something catastrophic, right? Like a plane crash and witnessing something, and all of a sudden now you're stuck with that for life. But traumas happen every single day. It's all how you interpret it. It could be losing your mother when you guys were at the clothing store together. And in that panic creates a little trauma. There's all these things. These are literally like micro traumas. And the point of this episode here today is to show you how some of these traumas may be holding you back from the life that you want to live, because they're creating a meaning, almost like a backdrop on your life. And until you become conscious of it, you cannot move forward. And if you do inch forward, it's not going to be a pleasant experience because you're still living this shitty meaning of the past. So I'm going to go through the steps in terms of how you would question the past, but I'm also going to give you examples from my own life. Examples around getting beat up and bullied. I'll give you 3 different examples. But before we go there, I want you to just kind of use these questions, and these questions will start to get you to think differently about some of the events of your life and how you interpreted them. The first one is, what is the event? Like, what was the event that has that traumatic trigger to you? That effect where you think about it, maybe it throws you in a different state. The second one is, what is the meaning you are giving it? Like, what did you make up in your mind as a result of this experience? I am blank, right? It's something that you attach to the identity, and now it's become the backdrop of your life. And you, as much as you tried to move forward and push forward, it's like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. So we want to free you of that. And then lastly, what would someone else, if it were a friend as a bystander, watching this event go down, how would they interpret it? And I'll say this a little bit differently. If you were observing the friend going through this, what would you say to that friend about the event? See, a lot of time we have these schitomas in our mind. Well, we can't see the things that are almost like right in front of our face. And as a result, we live our life in a way, it's kind of like a denial, but it's not even denial. It's just blind. I was on my walk today, and to give you a little bit of the backstory, I'm always doing some kind of personal growth because I'm always trying to go deeper and change my mind, because the only way you're going to change your environment, you're going to change your life, is by changing the environment on the inside, changing your thoughts, changing the meaning you give things. So I went on a run this morning, and for some reason I was driving by one of the houses. Oh, not driving, I was running. I was running by one of the houses where, when I was younger, a kid named Casey lived. Casey was the son of a preacher of this church on Weed Hill. And I remember we were playing, I don't know if it was, we were playing football, or I remember I was a little shit when I was younger, for sure. But I liked to hang out with the older kids because I liked to be around my older brother. And we were all together. I remember at one point him tackling me to like the ground and pinning me to the ground and me screaming. And other people around, like I'm sure my brother was around. And sitting there, I felt helpless. I felt like I couldn't defend myself. He did other things, like he was fully clothed. He like tried putting his balls in my face to give you, if you want to get a visual of it, and just in terms of how panicked I was as a child. And this made me feel like that I was defenseless, that I wasn't powerful, that I couldn't defend myself, that I felt weak. Fast forward. Then there was another event. Again, I think it was like a sport involved. We were playing football. My brother's friend Brad, I don't remember the context, but I remember him again pushing me to the ground and pinning me. I don't think he hit me, but I remember being very upset. And again, my brother was a bystander there. And I'm not, there's no blame on my brother. And I mean, my brother and I we would fight a lot when we were younger. I wanted to be around him because I wanted to be like him. And he probably didn't want his younger brother. So his friends, I'm sure they responded the way they saw him respond to me and treat me. That's different now. And I don't blame him, because he probably wouldn't even remember these events if I told him. And I was looking at those events. I was going, all right, well, if I were someone else, why would I interpret myself as being weak in these events? If I were someone else looking at it, and I imagine being in the shoes of my friend Anthony, who would often play football with us, and I imagine Anthony watching and commenting on what was happening, and he would say something along the lines of, "What a dick! He's twice your size. Why would he pick on you?" In both instances. And then I imagine myself observing my friend, that happening to my friend, and saying the same exact thing. Like, what an asshole. And he's twice your size, almost like, triple your size, 4 years older than you. Why would he do that to you? When I asked that different question, it made me look at the event differently. And all of a sudden, I realized that I was trying to run away from my past, trying to run away from being even in my hometown, because there was this meaning that I was giving it, that here I was living in this kind of this mold, right? That I couldn't escape my past. When you don't want to escape the past, you want to go through it. You need to venture into it to see the meaning you've been giving it. I'll give you one more story. I was in New York City. I was with my ex-girlfriend, Julia. We were walking down the street, and there were these three guys who commented. I can't remember. They commented something on her, and it made me feel uncomfortable. It was a rude comment, and I just said, come on, let's go. And I remember feeling like, what, I should have stuck up for her. I should have done something, and that I carried with me through all my relationships, as if something like that happened, and it often would. Because my girlfriends were very beautiful, I would feel like I wasn't enough, that I couldn't defend my girl. Applying the same principle, I looked back and I was thinking to myself, well, what if it was one of my friends who was observing this, or a bystander? What would they say? How would they interpret it? How would I interpret it if I saw that happening to a friend, or if a friend told me about it? I'd be like, well, I would say, yeah, you did the smart thing. Those three guys would have jumped you. But in that moment, I was making a really, really shitty meaning out of it. I was making the meaning that I was weak, that I couldn't support, or I couldn't defend my girl. And as a result, I carried that into all the relationships going forward. So I tell you this because there is freedom in the truth. The truth will set you free. often the people we lie to most are ourselves by creating these shitty meanings of the events that happen in our life, making meanings about ourselves when it's just not true. When you think about living, like this is all about living your one life, right? About living life of joy, a life of passion. The only way you're going to do that, I mean, I've had great experiences. I'm not going to say I haven't had great experiences. I've had amazing experiences. Traveling around the world, I've had things that people only dream of, seen things people only dream of. You know, but sometimes there's this thing that was weighing me down. So you have to become aware of that, because at least the intention and vision I have for my life is not just to have those moments of bliss when traveling and then have it like kind of overshadowed by these negative feelings or lower feelings. I want to feel like that 100% of the time. I know that's not realistic. I mean, life has its dips, but I believe and I know people who have that, and that's what I am going after. One of the reasons why I continue to always work on myself. So I tell you this because I want you to start to examine your life. Start to look at those traumatic events and to see what kind of meaning you've been giving it and how it's affected your life. What decisions that you've been avoiding or literally just pushed to the side because of this shitty meaning. Because when you change that meaning, when you go back and you change the meaning, all of a sudden now you're freeing yourself up. You're giving yourself another way to look at the world. When you're younger, you look at things and you create a meaning that doesn't necessarily jive with what it is that's actually happening. Like you're creating a meaning that is far from reality. So we want to make the meanings we create factually based. And even if they aren't factually based, right? You want to create a meaning that is empowering, that's going to allow you to move forward in the life that you want. So we'll go through those questions one more time. What is the event what's that triggering event where you think about it and it just puts these feelings in your body where you start to contract or you feel like this constriction? What is that? Next, what is the meaning that you were giving that event? And how has that impacted your life? And then lastly, if you were watching a friend go through the same event, what advice or what would you say to that friend to console them? Or if a friend were commenting and watching you go through this, what would they say to you? And it's not even about consoling, right? What we're really getting to is, what is the truth of the event? What is the truth? Not the lie you've been telling yourself, but the truth. And then once you've written that, just read it and soak it in and allow it to free you. It's all about living your one life, guys. And you can live it all, the outside world, there's so much stuff to experience and explore, and there's so much great stuff out there too. But it really does start in the inner journey. And so in order to live a life that's fulfilling, a life of passion, joy, and excitement, you need to explore, you need to buy that ticket and take the trip inward as well as outward. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please hit that subscribe button. If you have a question or comment, you could send those to me via my website at www.donnyraus.com, DonnyRaus.com. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I realize you could be watching anything. You could be flicking through your phone on the reels, but you chose to be here. So I appreciate that. And I applaud you for listening to something that will give you just a different perspective on how to view your life and the world around you. So because you only get one life, live it. God bless, guys, and I will see you again soon.